Hey James, welcome to the Marketing Business Podcast.
Also, it's so good to be here, Scott.
Mate, it's awesome to have you here. Look, we've known each other for quite a while now.
Yep.
I think we first met at a LinkedIn event.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, LinkedIn local, I think it was back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, putting in the hard efforts, even in the early days of
Yeah,
kind of networking, getting the face out there, spending time with good people.
yeah.
It pays off.
It's definitely is one of the keys that I think a lot of people will learn today. Matt's got a great story. We're going to talk about everything: business, mindset, marketing. We're going to talk about AI because I know you're like me. You see the potential. But let's go back. Okay, British-born Kiwi, and you're committed to changing the dialogue of health and safety in New Zealand, in the New Zealand marketplace. You're also a father of five.
Yep.
Community volunteer, but also going to put on here that you're very good at LinkedIn. I believe you, if you read Matt's profile, you're very, very good at LinkedIn marketing. But let's jump back. British-born Kiwi. Where were you born?
So originally from Peterborough, which is at an hour's drive north of London.
Yep.
So an overspill, basically, famous for having the first shopping mall in the UK, and that's about it. So I managed to escape almost 21 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been back twice.
Yep.
New Zealand very quickly became home. I was here on a 12-month OE,
Okay.
based in Queenstown, and in all honesty, I just never looked back.
Yeah.
Lifestyle was
Well,
good.
when you go to Queenstown, it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
It was so good.
I've been to the UK.
Oh.
I know what it's like in the wintertime.
Yeah. So originally my background, my background's hospo. So
Yep.
I was working behind bars, working the cafes, doing the dishes, working all sorts just to sustain that lifestyle.
Yep.
So work during the day, and then either party all night or get on the ski fields during the winter season.
Sounds
That's my
horrible.
gig. Yeah, it's so good. So
Yeah.
good.
So you came to New Zealand, OE, you liked it. How did you end up staying? What was the...
So the big thing for me, I originally in Queenstown, I was there for a couple of years. I then managed to score a great job in Kaikoura.
Yep.
So I was the bar manager there at the Adelphi,
Oh, wow.
which has since gone since the earthquakes.
Yeah.
But I was working the evenings there, and that's where I met my Kiwi partner.
Oh,
And,
nice.
Long story short, we became parents about a year later.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was here.
How
But
good.
in all honesty, it kind of felt like the stars aligned.
Yep.
It all worked out really well for us.
Yeah, and now 5 kids later, and
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting, right? Mate, your life must be busy. I have one, and that's,
Yeah, it's pretty challenging. Pretty challenging. I'm very lucky. I've got a partner who is a absolute superhero that just holds the fort. It keeps us all in line.
Nice.
But we're also really entrenched in our kids as well. So we've raised all of our kids through Play Centre.
Yep.
So it's real hands-on parenting.
Nice.
And but it's paid off as the kids have got
Yeah.
older. They are really resilient, really onto it kids,
Nice.
and they're all kind of taking care of each other now.
That's very cool. That's what you want. Resilient kids, I think, is a hallmark of parents. If you've got resilient kids, you've
Yep.
done something right. Because
Yep.
sadly, there's probably not. It's not as common these days as it was
Yes,
back in the
yeah,
day.
absolutely.
Hey, so health and safety though. How did you get involved in health and safety? And because you've done some big jobs in the health and safety, and we're going to touch on that because I think it's important for business owners to hear more about it and maybe some key things that you can give them from that perspective. But how did you get involved in the health and safety environment?
Yeah, it all started with a knock on the door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's a great story. So, at the time, I was feeling fairly burnt out. I was looking for a bit of a change. We had just gone through the September quakes here in Canterbury.
Yep.
And my next door neighbour was running a small construction firm,
Oh, wow.
residential, and they had just secured a ton of work with Fletcher EQR.
Yep.
But they were about to lose it unless they could get their health and safety in line.
Oh, wow.
And so he had heard I was looking for a bit of a change and
Yep.
asked if I was up for the challenge. And within 12 months, they were nominated for 2 National Health and Safety Awards.
How good.
They secured the work with Fletcher EQR, and then before I knew it, I was being shoulder tapped all over the show.
Oh, really? Yeah, people saw what you did, and hey, like especially winning awards and stuff.
Yeah.
How cool is that? So, was it something that you just decided, right? I'll just get involved, learn about it,
Yeah.
studying at night,
Yeah.
working during the day, studying at
Got
night, working during the day.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah.
fully immersed. So I leaned into the community groups and the training outfits that were available.
Yep.
And made full advantage of some amazing people that were around in Canterbury at that time. But also, yeah, you're right, putting in the hard yards in the evenings and weekends.
Because
Yeah.
it's fair to say, after the earthquakes in Christchurch, it was total disarray for a lot of things,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
like I guess health and safety maybe wasn't as like
Yep.
that isn't that important, should I say that?
Yep.
But it probably wasn't on the radar of a lot of people back then,
Yeah,
versus
it's
today.
really true. It was quite unusual to find a high vis vest on the residential construction site.
Yeah.
I think back to the early days where we were cracking into walls and ceilings without doing things like asbestos testing. I
Wow.
hate to think about how many times in the early days, at least, we were exposed to all
Yeah.
sorts of nasties. But
Yeah.
we did. As a community, we all evolved pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the work that you were doing was setting the standards in
Yes.
those areas.
Yes.
That must have been pretty exciting, like to be part of that, and
Yep.
to, when you look back now, how amazing was that?
Yeah.
Like knock on the door,
Yeah.
right?
Oh man, it was like really timely.
Yeah.
But I actually feel very blessed.
Yeah.
I feel if I look back over my journey, there's just been these little moments where it's just kind of led me down another path. And it's led to an amazing story.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So you worked for them for how long?
So I was with that firm for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So for the first year and a bit, I was specifically working directly with them, and then we started to do some consulting with some of their contractors, and then I was shoulder tapped and became a business partner for a health and safety consultancy here in Christchurch.
Oh wow.
So I was with those guys for a year and a bit. So again, like the evolution, it was all very fast tracked. So all of a sudden, I was a business partner. It's like, what did I know about business? Learning the hard way.
Yeah.
And then within a year and a half, I was shoulder tapped by a state-owned enterprise who were looking for a short-term contract to hold the fort whilst they found a national health and safety manager.
Wow.
So for me, it was a steep learning curve, and they couldn't find a replacement. So I put my hand up and said,
Wow.
"Hey, why not give me a shot?"
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you go from like working in, for entrepreneurial type guys and girls, and then all of a sudden you're in the state sector.
Yeah.
How different is the two of them, right?
Hugely different. Hugely
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I actually think back to my first few days. I actually turned up wearing a black pair of jeans and the only shirt I had in the wardrobe at the time. And just kind of got through,
Yeah.
It was a very different scene.
And there was a really big company too, right? Like
Massive.
you're allowed to say on
Yeah.
like on air, like it was Airways.
Airways New Zealand, yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Eh? Like, you're responsible for a lot of people, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's not just in New Zealand either. So they've got employees all around the world who are out there selling the services that Airways provides. So they provide the infrastructure and software that keeps the planes in the airs.
Oh wow.
So we're talking satellites, radar, training of air traffic controllers, some of the world's best training providers in the market. And so it was a very steep learning curve, and having to learn not only the industry but also the politics within that office.
When I worked in the corporate world, you had to learn the politics.
Yes, yeah.
And if you didn't learn the politics, you pretty much got chewed away
pretty
quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually quite liked it. I thought it was a bit of a game. Hey, let's look though, business partner and then working corporate.
Yep.
What did you learn? What are two things you learned about being a business partner and two things you learned about working corporate?
Business partner, knowing your partner well before getting into bed with that person.
Yeah, true.
That was a big learner for me. So I didn't really do my due diligence, and as a result, I learnt a number of things as I went through the course of that relationship, and I kind of realized that perhaps the competence levels wasn't as great as I had been led to believe.
Yep.
And so I ended up spending a lot of time with the team, developing culture and ensuring that they felt that they were in a safe space to operate, particularly in the health and safety space, right? So we're dealing with legislation, we're dealing with people's perceptions of what health and safety is.
Yeah.
People are spending good money for good advice. So you've got to ensure that the team are one, capable, but also they feel that they can do it in a safe space.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big things that was keeping me busy. And then during the exit of that relationship, that got a bit messy too. And it all comes back to knowing who you're working with and also doing your due diligence when it comes to contracts as
Yeah.
well. I just walked into that without
Yeah,
really
yeah.
knowing what I was doing, to be
Yeah,
honest.
probably a little bit. Hey, this is great. Someone wants me
Yeah.
to be their
Oh,
partner, and
huge. Yeah,
let's
what an
go.
accolade. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So it's really important business lessons there, I think.
yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about a business partnership, just take note of what Matt said. Really get clear on those two things, right?
Yes, yes.
Know who you're dealing with, and really get some good advice on some contracts, and make sure you learn from those lessons.
Yeah.
I think what you said about safety and culture is really, really good. Like we have some really good core values, and we just actually retired two of our core values, put them into the Hall of Fame. It's not that they're no longer around; they're still there. They're just up in the Hall of Fame. They've done their job. They're still part of the company. But we brought in two others, and the real philosophy around one of them is letting people know they're in a safe space. That they're safe space to have courageous conversations, and it was really interesting because you don't get that in a corporate world too much anymore.
Yeah.
It's very people don't say things or be upfront. But they're worried about the risks down the flow because it's not a safe environment, right? And I think that's really important that you mentioned, culture and creating that safety.
Yeah, and it's actually really refreshing to hear you able to talk through what the culture or the values are of the company, right?
Totally.
It's actually quite a rarity in many instances when I'm talking with business owners and they actually even know what their values are.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the fact is that you're reviewing those and
Yeah.
talking with them with the team. It's
Well,
great.
the coolest part is we've got five. So B team focus is number one, influence through insights number two, results not reasons number three, and then we retired world class training and celebrate your victories, and we brought in address the elephant, eat the frog, and that's about having those tough conversations, but then also doing the hard things first.
Yeah.
And then as a team, we actually brainstormed on a day the other one, and we put it as an open floor. We gave them some parameters, and everyone contributed to the fifth core value, which is courage over comfort. And
Nice.
it was amazing to see people stepping up into deciding why they wanted that as a core value. And there was some robust conversations around it, and some people didn't like it at the start, and other people liked another one, and then just kind of gelled it all together. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I think it's very important, especially in that when you in those a business with people, small business, under 20, under 50 people, you've got to have that culture right.
Yeah, that's
What,
fantastic.
what about the corporate world? What are two things you learned there?
Gosh.
What are two good ones?
The good ones were the resource. So having access
Yeah, true.
to massive budgets.
Yes.
The access that I got to big conferences, and also some of the thought leaders of the industry. Like I got to speak with the CE on a number of occasions on a one-on-one, which is just invaluable.
Yeah, that's
so good.
access is a good insight, right? You do get access to people and more funding and
then getting to spend time in the control towers and out on the airfields
cool.
as well, right? So I was actually in the aerodromes watching the planes come in and out, literally just a couple 100 meters away from the planes.
Wow.
So good. Yeah.
How awesome's that? Did you get to land any?
No.
Fuel.
A little bit more training required.
So that's interesting. Your health and safety journey really evolved really fast, right?
Yes.
That's kind of a pinch me moment when you go back. Hey, someone knocked on my door, and then a few years later, I'm helping air controllers land planes and stuff, and with their health and safety.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
When you look at the fundamentals of health and safety, just as a lot of the business owners listening here, entrepreneurial business owners, employ people, backbone of New Zealand, really. What are some of the fundamentals they should be looking at when it comes to health and safety?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is the fundamentals. I see this happen time and time again where in the health and safety space it becomes really quickly overcomplicated.
Yes.
And it does no one any favors. And so ultimately it's really boiling down to the basics, which is knowing what you're responsible for.
Yep.
Knowing who your relationships are with the other businesses that work with you in your company. So if you're in construction, for example, the contractors and the subtrades that you deal with, and the suppliers that bring the plant and equipment, and knowing what risks they bring to your business and place of work. And then ultimately, the number one thing is the risk management.
Yeah.
So what is it that's going to harm you and your business? How can you manage that? How can you get rid of it? and how do you deal with the risks that's left over?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So if a business was looking at this going, okay, well, what do I know that I'm responsible for?
Mm.
Like, where does that start? Like that,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
big
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Does it take like an audit? Does it take going through a process,
Mm.
or can I just go, well, what am I responsible for? I'm responsible for
Mhm.
10 guys
Yep.
in making sure they come home safely. Like,
Yeah.
is it?
So sadly, over the years, the marketplace was flooded with gurus and service providers that charged a pretty penny
Yeah.
to pretty much deliver a folder or a document that sits on the shelf.
I
Can
don't
be
want to
passed
bring that
around.
up, but that was a little bit about what the health and safety became, right? It
Mhm.
became this folder.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
And tick box.
which brings no value, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of business owners, what I would be looking for is having an initial assessment. I think it's always really good to start with where are we right now, and compared to what the legislation requires and what good looks like for my industry.
Okay.
And so that's what a good independent contractor consultant should
Yep.
be doing. And they should be doing it in a way that they are not making any assumptions. They spend time with your team. They spend time observing what it is you do,
Yep.
and looking through whatever documentation you've got, and then giving you a bit of a baseline to say, hey, these are the strengths that you've got. Here are some of the opportunities for improvement, and this is how long we reckon it will take to get there, and some milestones to get to that point.
Yeah. Because I even think of our business, right? So we wear vests and have hot helmets and stuff going out onto some of the building sites that we're on, taking videos and photos. But maybe we should be doing more, right? Like, is there other stuff that we should be looking at? Like, I guess that's why we probably should have an assessment and get like, okay, what is it? Because you don't really think of it. Like, you think sometimes just going into someone else's work and everything's going to be fine. But I guess it's fine until it's not, right?
Yes, yeah, you've got it, yeah. But on the other hand, I'm trying to bring back a sense of realism, is that your team and yourself, you're on location for a short duration.
Yeah.
You're not cracking into the tools.
No.
You're not jumping in front of diggers and trailers
No.
and all that kind of good stuff. So it has to come with a sense of pragmatism, right? So I suspect when you arrived on site, there's someone on site to take you around.
Yep.
There's someone who ensures that you've got the right PPE on.
Yep.
And that you're behaving yourselves.
Yes.
So that reduces the risk massively.
Yeah.
But as a business for yourselves, yeah, it might be worth having a bit of a look
Yeah.
under the hood to just see where you're at.
It's not till you think about it, right? Like, and I guess it comes down to that question: is what am I responsible for? It's actually quite a good question, just to even start thinking about that, and what are some of the risks? Like, that's when you ask that question. Some of the people that you work with, what are some of the risks there? Well, actually, it could be a few. So it's all about that risk management, which is it's a good thing to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess because the laws have changed right now, it's kind of it's not a nice to have. You must do it, right?
Yeah.
So for you guys, how have you seen your business evolve? Like, because you now own your own business, right?
Yes.
So is it Advanced Safety?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. So Advanced Safety, you own your own business, but are you still in the franchising of that business as well?
Yeah, so the business has evolved. So I established Advanced Safety in late 2016. So we've been around for a while now. And initially it was myself, and then the business grew. And so at one stage I had 3 full-time employees plus an administrator, and we were going gangbusters. And then good old COVID came along, and it changed. It kind of flipped the script for all of us, right?
Yeah.
So by the end of that, I was back to myself and a part-time administrator. I asked myself the question, what business model do I really want to go down moving forward? How do I regrow? And so I looked at what other industries were doing. New Zealand seems to be absolutely jam-packed full of franchises. It just seems to be
we love working with franchises.
Business model, right? And so I went down that road. I collated all of my IP, I bundled it, packaged it, managed to sell 3 franchise licenses at the early stages. But it has been some learnings. So once again, did I do enough due diligence? Maybe not. But a couple of things there. One was that trying new things, I think, is always worth a crack.
Totally.
Particularly if it's something that's so common.
Yeah.
There must be something in that, right?
Yeah.
The learnings for me were that perhaps the business model for health and safety consulting perhaps isn't quite the right one.
Mm.
And so I've now shifted toward more of a licensing model,
Okay.
which gives the operators far more
Perfect.
freedom.
Yeah,
And it
nice.
takes a lot of the day-to-days off of my shoulders as
Yeah,
well.
licensed to operate.
Mm,
Yeah,
correct.
because you've got a whole bunch of good IP
Yeah.
that then they can now go and use and do as they. It gives them a bit more freedom to.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
oh, nice.
Exactly that.
I like that you're willing to learn from what's working, what's not
Mm.
working, and then mold it and keep going. Because one of the keys to success is to keep going.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
too many people just stop. Oh, that didn't work, and run back. Where you just got to keep going forward, right?
Yeah, and when you think this is the great thing, this is why I really love playing this game, because I'm in the gig of health and safety, right? When you think of health and safety, you think of conservatism. The word no comes to mind. Big stop signs. That's really not what I'm about at all. I'm all about pushing the big green button. And finding ways to do it.
Yeah. That's cool. So so that takes a mindset, right? And I love talking to people about mindset, especially on the show. Where did that mindset? Where did you develop that? Because have you always had that kind of look for solution mindset, positive focused, or have you learned that over the years?
Yeah, I think it's ingrained. So one thing that my dad said to me not so long ago that really stuck was that he said that I was never destined to be employed by someone.
Yeah.
When I think back to all of my jobs over the years, I've always found the issues or the things that are holding that business back, and I've communicated those frustrations back to my management and also the business owners, and it's made improvements, but then it's kind of fallen over again, and I've got frustrated and kind of left and moved on to the next business. But really, that's my my journey with all employment is I've found problems, found some solutions, and then got frustrated that they haven't been implemented. So I was always, I think, destined to end up running my own business, to be honest.
Oh, good. And the mindset side of things, though, like, were you reading books? Were you like listening to tapes, CDs? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so it has been a significant investment in personal growth. And not just business style books, but the likes of Jay Shetty.
Nice.
Was it Think Like a Monk?
Yeah.
And the Diary of a CEO, Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett. All of that stuff I just find fascinating because it's all about the idea that the brain is there's a thing called neuroplasticity that we, no matter how old you are, we can always learn new things and evolve. And for me, I just find that just absolutely brilliant. And I've definitely endorsed that.
And the coolest thing about that is you can actually test it. You don't actually have to, like, if someone tells you that, you might go, oh, I don't believe that, but you can actually go test it. Like, you can actually go into your own world and see and push and see what you can do. It's amazing. I find that really, really interesting of what you can do as a human. And I naturally always see myself as part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? And I always get attracted to people who are part of the solution. There's so many people that just want to be part of the problem, right? That's the easy side.
It sure is. It sure is.
It's interesting you talk about Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. What have you learned from him? Because I think I love some of the guests he has on, and I've learned a lot from him over the years. I've loved reading his book. What are some of the things you've learned there?
Yeah, I think what springs to mind is the early pages of that book is the discussion around the different buckets that you can fill. The first bucket is the most important one, and that's filling it with experience and knowledge. Because that can never be taken away.
No, totally.
So we could have another, touch wood, natural disaster. We could have another economic meltdown, whatever it might be. The skills, the knowledge, the experience that we've gathered by testing can never be taken away, and we can adapt that and use that for whatever direction we choose to take next. I mean, if I had the time and if I had the budget, I've got about 20 different projects that I'd love to run off and do, but I just don't have the time to do it.
It's at the same time, I think when you talk about experience and knowledge and not being able to take things away from you, I think it's so important because when I talk to younger people, especially, I say, like, go to Toastmasters. No, I don't. Why would I want to do that? It's because the experience you'll get for being able to communicate with people is unbelievable. Where today, everything is kind of hidden behind an email or hidden behind, and I think the more you can learn to communicate with people,
Yep.
the better you will be in this world.
Yep. Completely agree.
So I think it's really, really important that you bank that knowledge and get those experiences and test yourself early.
Yep. You've just reminded me. I invested quite a bit of money in the early days of advanced safety into workshop training and facilitation. So I actually had an expert train me on that space.
Oh wow!
And that was one of the best investments I could have ever done, because it just gave me the confidence in my ability to communicate technical jargon in layman terms, and creating a safe environment, a safe space for people around a table to have a really informal but impactful session. Because I assume you've probably been through a few training sessions, maybe not in the health and safety space, but really dry content. Everyone just kind of sits there, tunes out, and just
Accounting.
death by PowerPoint, right? And that's one thing I wanted to challenge from the get-go. And for many years, particularly the first few years of advanced safety, the workshops just went off like gangbusters. Like it was one of my biggest successes.
Making it interactive, making it more of an experience, giving people, making them part of it, right? Which generally in health and safety wouldn't have been. It would have been just a whole lot of words on a screen.
That's it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it gets me thinking about the social media side of things too, right? So just like yourself, like I've spent a lot of time putting a lot of content out there. But when you look back at the early days, it's kind of cringe, oh, it's awful, but you only get better by doing.
I showed my team a video that I shot in 2011, and I was talking about how the internet was going to game change, because I'd come from like direct response marketing or corporate marketing and then direct response, and I saw what the internet was up to, and I was like, holy, this is so transparent. And I said, this video I was talking about how the internet was going to be a game changer, but it was real cringe. Like it was shot in an office, which wouldn't have been as big as this desk, and on a little Kodak ZI8. Which is a great camera, but but you have to just get started, right? Like so many people don't get started. Even today, so many people don't get started in social media. So the world is still an opportunity when it comes to social media and it comes to, growing your brand online.
I saw a quote today. It was like the perfection is the killer of business or something like that, and it's true.
Totally. So when you look at marketing for your business, what are some of the things that you know to be true and what you look to do in your marketing?
I've kind of lived by this for many years now, is give some of your best content away for free.
Totally.
Because your ideal customer, your market, they're looking for a solution. Everyone's on social, regardless, whether it's the weekends, evenings, daytime, and just scrolling through that information, if you're lucky, they will come across what you've just put out, and it will strike home, it will resonate, and they will remember that.
Totally.
And it might take several times again, but eventually when the time's right, they'll reach out. And time and time again that's happened, where I've bumped into someone in an airport, or I've bumped into someone at a conference, and they've shook my hand and said thanks.
I do. How cool is that, eh?
So good. Such a great feeling. And that's where some of my greatest leads and some of my best clients have come from, is from that approach.
I was lucky enough to learn that in 2006 at the World Internet Summit. And a guy called Brett McFall sat me down and said, hey, just give your best stuff away for free. It was really challenging because I came from the corporate world where they gave nothing away for free. So I kind of thought he was a bit stupid at the start, and then I realized he was right, they were wrong. And it changed the game, like giving information that work value in advance for them ever giving you any money. It was pretty cool, right? You could give people value first. And that's why I started, like you, we started doing workshops and seminars, giving people value.
Yes.
It was such a better way to build a business. Was it slower at the start? Yes. Did it snowball like unbelievably snowball and became a bit of an avalanche? Yes. Today, now that we're sitting in a pretty decent size office, studio, library, everything going on, and when I originally started, the office was definitely the size of this desk, so it's proof that if you just prepared to give some of your, some of the stuff that some of the insights that for free, that it does work, right? And I think it comes down to trust, right? Would you think that's the...
Oh, yeah, hugely. And that's a great word, because as you were describing your value session with the team, to my mind was the word that was kind of singing straight away. It's like the high trust here.
Yeah.
And it is like what you're doing is you're establishing trust through whatever the medium happens to be. At the moment, it's social media. But prior to that, it was blogs and all that kind of good
Yeah,
stuff.
or seminars.
Yeah,
You know.
same things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's tried and proven. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so what else do you know to be true? Because that's a good one. And
Mm.
look, the coolest thing about that is people go, oh, yeah, that's easy for these two guys to say that. But you could start doing that tomorrow.
Yep.
And so what are some of the steps for people to start doing that tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it would be, well, first and foremost is identifying who your ideal customer is.
Totally.
And really understanding their pain points. So it's spending time with them really, and getting to know them, the language and what resonates with them, their pain points, their dreams and desires, and then speaking to that. So one of the things I used to do, and actually no, I still do, is I'll do simple Google searches on the topics that I know to be true of my
Yep.
customers and clients, and look to see what types of questions are being currently asked.
Nice.
It comes up with all the auto
Yeah.
prompting, right? And then base some content around that.
That's cool.
Really powerful stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Simple, and just keep doing it.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not guaranteed to get a strike straight away.
No.
But sometimes it happens,
Well, I always say to people too, because that's a good idea, and anyone can do that. You can go read reviews, you can go do a whole bunch of stuff. Look, read their ads. All their ads are on live. Go read the comments. There's so much stuff you can do. There's quality people and quantity people. So you make the content for both of those people.
Yep.
One of those people is the quality person. They're not better than the quantity person. The quality person only needs to see one piece of content or two bits of content, and they will contact you.
Yes. Yep.
The other people, the quantity people, need to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they contact you. They're both worth gold to your business.
Yeah.
The challenge is most businesses never get to see the quality or the quantity because they do one video and that's it, or one piece of content and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I've worked with health and safety professionals over the years. I've tried to help other employed health and safety practitioners move into private practice and try to assist them with how to market based on my own experiences. And there always seems to be this real reluctance to post more than once or twice a month, or maybe once or twice a week if you're lucky, because there's this fear, I'm flooding the market, I'm bugging everyone. Imagine how much that information is being passed on those platforms on a daily. You're not bugging anyone.
No.
And also, you've got to be prepared to test
totally
material, right?
And I think, a lot of times you just have to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And a lot of that does come down to self-esteem. If I think I'm going to be bugging people, well, if you don't believe in what you're doing, maybe you are.
Yeah.
If you believe that what you're doing could actually save a business or save someone's life or protect them, then why wouldn't you go out there and shoot those videos and record that audio or do it? Because if you believe in what you're doing, you do it.
Yes.
It's definitely an ego to think, I'm bugging them. Well, actually, they're probably just waiting for someone else to come and help them. That's the coolest part is when the time's right, you become relevant. I always say consistency of message, frequency of reach to become relevant.
Yep.
When the time is right, you become relevant. You can't be relevant if you don't have that frequency of reach.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No one's going to know who you are.
Yeah.
I like what you said though on how to do that. That's a good one.
Yep.
What else do you know to be true about marketing?
So test, and test again.
Yeah.
So I was a bit of a slow learner on this one, where I would put out lots of content, but I wouldn't look back. I wouldn't look to see what the patterns and trends were for the material that I put out a few days, a few weeks, a few months back. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking to see what has performed the best. The different kinds of metrics. There's the likes and the comments. There's the number of organic reaches, or whether someone's taken an action where they've actually direct messaged me or sent an email, and then double down on that. So reshare or repurpose that piece of content.
Nice.
It's invaluable and it's free. It doesn't cost anything to do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Knowing what works, like having getting some data on that. And then go, actually, I'll use it again. Because the cool thing is, only a small percentage of people would have seen it. Unless you're like paying to really drive it into your target market, most people aren't seeing the content.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah, that's a good one. Test. I believe testing is the eighth wonder of the world when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
you could definitely do more of it,
Mm-hmm.
but just start with a small piece as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep.
Good thing about repurposing content as well, like you've already
Yes.
spent the time and you
Yeah.
spent the money and you
Yeah.
spent that to make it happen, and
Yep.
now you putting it together and out there in the marketplace.
Yep.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
What do you think about AI?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
fascinating. So, it was Gary Vaynerchuk that put me onto
Yeah.
ChatGPT. He
Nice.
did a post. He was like, "You all need to go and get an account
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
check this out." And I was just like, "Oh, that's unusual for Gary to say something
Yeah.
as blunt as that." So I
Yeah.
just jumped on it. Had a little play with ChatGPT when it first came out, and it just blew my mind from
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Because I think I recognized the potential, but even the early days, it was still able to generate some pretty good content. So right now, what I would be advising anyone who's in a clerical or in a professional space, whether it's law, or even administration, health and safety, quality, whatever, would be to be playing with this tool a lot right now,
Yeah.
because I believe that it's only a matter of time where a lot of the content and material that I traditionally spend a lot of time creating and charging for will be able to be generated with some carefully worded prompts.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, the industry and the service that I'm providing is well, it probably already is. It's been really shaken to its foundations, and so it makes me really glad that I doubled down in the early days and invested in things like public speaking, creating safe spaces, workshop facilitation, being able to, and this goes back to my hospitality days, being able to talk to different
Yeah.
audiences,
Yeah.
really just switching gears like
Totally.
in an instant,
Yeah.
because everything else is going to be
Yeah.
taken care of.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
spoke at the university last year, I think it was, and to a whole bunch of students talking about AI. I said, who here is scared of AI? Everyone put their hand up. They're freaking out,
Yeah.
And I said, here's I'll give you one piece of advice. And I said, they were like, oh, yes, what is it? What is it? I said, go to Toastmasters. I already said that on this podcast, but go to Toastmasters.
Yeah.
They're like, why would I do that? Why would I want to?
Yep.
It's just because,
Great advice.
you need to learn how to communicate.
Yep.
You need to be able to go out and pitch ideas and sell yourself and talk to people. I said, other stuff's going to be done for you.
Yep.
Like, seriously, like it's going to be done for you, and it's getting better and better and better. So you better know
Yep.
how to build relationships. You better know how to look someone in the eye and shake them at their hand
Yep.
and create a conversation with them and create deal flow. Because
Yep.
other than that, like, seriously, why would they want to use you when there's something,
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of them will, but hey, I've given that advice to a couple of people, and they had messaged me and saying they've gone. So, I think what you said is right on. Like. There definitely has, as it's not even ChatGPT. All the other AIs get better and better and better.
Yeah.
But you still need a human in there.
Yep.
Facing that sort of stuff. And so I always think, but I just think, how much more productive can you be?
Yeah. Huge. Yeah, it's just going to carve out so much more time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of projections, gosh, like crystal ball stuff, really. But I think for the next 12 to 24 months, it's, if you haven't invested in that space, I would be seriously getting time out to develop that ability and that skill, but also just playing with the platforms that are available. You're right; it certainly goes beyond ChatGPT. I'm really enjoying Perplexity. And is it Claude?
Claude, yep.
Yeah. They all have different nuances, and but they're evolving on a daily. It's fascinating.
One of the things that we've done over the years here is have a 1 hour challenge. And you go, okay, well, look at your role. Yeah. How could you get an hour back in your day? And go and find a software that can help you do that. We've had some great successes. Just, we take photos and all this other stuff, and going out on sites and then coming back, and now we found AI that can sort all the photos and stuff, which took a 3 hour job down to a 15-second job. Like, it's pretty impressive when you start to think about what are the things that are sucking your time that you could use technology for.
Yep.
And really start to, I think when you use the word play, I would use another word, start to investigate and start to interrogate AI. Like, get in there and start to push to see if it actually can do what it says it can do. Because there's a lot of AI that's out there that's pretty crappy technology just with a new domain name.
Yes.
So start really pushing what the capabilities of what you need it to do. But really write down, okay, well, I spend 5 hours a week doing this task. could you find technology to do that?
Yeah,
Could you save that 5 hours
Yep.
and push the boundaries? And if you have younger team members, like really give them the opportunity to do it. Like, I
Yes.
think some of my staff think it's funny that I will pay them
Yep.
to go and research
Yeah.
AI and find out
Yep.
what.
Yep.
But as a smart business owner, I'm getting productivity back.
Yeah.
I'm getting hours back.
Yeah, I'm just picturing some of your listeners and viewers are probably like freaking out at the idea of that. But to me, big tick on that one.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, we saved just in one software alone. I don't know. I'd hate to think, but it was a manual job that we'd have to do. It took 3 hours for sorting through photos.
Yeah.
So, because if you go to a site, you might go to 2 sites one day, one restaurant or building site and stuff. You might have like 500 photos.
Yeah.
To manually go through all those photos, there's just too much.
Yeah.
So to put them into a piece of software, tell the software AI what is it that you want that to do, and put it in. This is this client's folder. This is this client's folder. Now sort that for me.
Yeah, so good. You just reminded me of Alex Hormozy. Actually, just caught up with Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of the CEO, his latest podcast. Some killer content there. I'd really recommend anyone to tune into that. But one of the things that Alex has talked about is making a note of what you've done every 15 minutes for a week at work. So set a timer, a little bing every 15 minutes, and just 1 or 2 little bullet point notes. What have I just done over the last 15 minutes? It's very much to your point. It then allows you to then look back over your week and become aware of where your time spent is really going.
Yeah.
So you'll probably be surprised that actually how much time you're spent doing just really annoying administrative tasks, which can easily be filtered out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very, very good.
Yeah, I think look at AI is something you should run to, not run from.
Yep.
And like sometimes I always say to people, hey, it's I think it's $20 to get a ChatGPT account. Get in there and have a go, investigate it, interrogate it, like find out, and then maybe go to Udemy or somewhere where there's someone who's learned a bit more about it, and pay them $10, and all of a sudden you run your way, right? It's incredible what you can learn today.
Yeah.
Hey, you're actually going to have someone at your conference, so we're going to talk about this exciting thing that you've got going on. But you've actually got someone coming. So you've got an event coming up. What's your event called?
Yeah, so it's called the Safety Summit.
Safety Summit?
25, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And where is it?
It's going to be at the Addington Raceway and Event Centre on the 27th of March.
Nice.
Yeah.
27th of March. And so you've actually got someone coming to talk about AI.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Josh Hobbs. Yeah. Yep. So Josh, in a previous life, he was very high up at Spark NZ. He was one of those whiz-bang kids that got to play with all of the tech and come up with some really neat ideas that had some really big impacts for Spark. And so he then since has moved on to create his own consultancy.
Nice.
And bring all of those learnings to the market. So now he's helping some of the biggest employers in the country become familiar with AI and actually making workplaces safer by applying AI.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So who should come to the Safety Summit? Who's this ideal for?
So when you think Safety Summit, right? This is the theme of this talk. I think is breaking that mold of what health and safety is all about.
Nice.
So this health and safety conference is designed, yes, for the health and safety practitioners and professionals in mind, but also for those in leadership roles or those seeking to get into leadership roles.
Okay.
And I believe when we talk about AI, that's almost everyone, actually.
Totally.
And so that's why the keynote lineup, the panelists are so broad and wide in terms of scope, but they've all got a common theme. They're bringing to the event. Yeah.
So around leadership,
around being able to walk away with some real tangible, insightful actions, and also fostering a community which, when you think about the health and safety practitioners, it's kind of the same in the HR world and the accounting world. We're all often operating in quite isolated spaces. So this is providing a safe space where we can all participate and all build on that community.
How good. And so the investment to go along is all on your website and stuff like that. People can bring teams.
Yeah. So we've again broken the mold in terms of pricing. So the traditional health and safety conference can be anywhere in excess of $2,500 to attend, right? And when you look at the speakers from one year to the next, tends to be the same type of speaker. Tends to be the same speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
They get away with it. Whereas with this, it's significantly cheaper. We're talking like $450 for an
Oh, wow.
entire day. A group of 4 is $1,500. A group of 4, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got some of the greatest minds in the industries. We've got the likes of the CEO of Fulton Hogan joining us.
Primo.
But yeah, Ben Hayward's going to be on stage at this conference. So he's one of the largest employers. One of the most successful businesses in New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's going to be addressing the audience on
That's
the day.
awesome.
It just blows my mind. We've got Emma Gilmore. Emma
Yep.
Gilmore is the world's fastest female rally driver.
Yeah, yeah.
Kiwi born,
That's cool.
amazing character, an amazing story. And so Emma's going to be delving into the importance of team. So when you think of a rally driver, you think of someone in isolation doing really amazing
But there's
things.
a massive team behind them.
It's a huge team thing. Yeah. So it's all about making decisions on the clock.
Yeah.
Managing risk on the fly, but also having a team to support you every step of the way.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so good.
So if people want to go along, whereabouts do you find them?
Yeah, so safetysummit.co.nz is the website. You'll
Nice.
find the list of all the keynotes. So we have some heavy hitters in the legal space as well. People who are really good at boiling it down into simply what you need to know.
Nice.
And that's
important.
Yeah.
It saves people time, right? That's
Yes.
for $450, you probably save yourself a bunch of time, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Totally.
When you think about like the ideal people turning up and what would you hold? When they leave, what's your goal that they should have achieved throughout the day? Like, what's your outcome for them?
Yeah, so we're looking for open minds, really,
Nice.
right? So by the end of the day, we don't want people to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We don't want people to feel like they're being whacked across the head with a baseball bat of information. Ultimately, the end goal is for people to walk away with a small list of actions that they can put into place straight away.
I like it.
They may have some notes around ideals and things that they want to achieve in the long term, but that's ultimately the aim of the game. We're making use of a mobile app for the event. So the idea is this is a space to engage weeks before the event and weeks after the event. So there'll be forums, there'll be places to share ideas, takeaways, actions, experiences as well. So after the event, people may want to try some of the things that they've learned. They can tell their story and learn. That's awesome. From that. Yeah,
I like it. That's very cool. Making it interactive before and after, like that's a beautiful thing. Thing. Hey, so we'll put all the details on the show notes of the podcast as well, and also out on our socials. I wanted to just briefly. Is there anything else you want to tell about that?
No, I think we've covered that really well. Thank you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about LinkedIn before we finish because we're going nearly 50 odd minutes, and I wanted because I really like what you're doing out on LinkedIn. Where did you teach yourself about LinkedIn? Is it just from repetition, or did you?
It's a little bit of there's two sides to the story. So one, particularly in the early days of the business, I invested heavily in various gurus, systems, tools, solutions to try and figure this all out because I really had no idea what I was doing. I stumbled across a LinkedIn how-to training program. It talked about, we're going back a few years now, but the power of DMs in LinkedIn. Back in the days where you could connect with 1 million people and DM 1 million people, but it wasn't just blanket DMs. There was some method to the madness. So there was a bit of a script to encourage people to connect with you, and then follow-up questions, which then began to develop kind of warm conversations or warm leads. Very specifically, reaching out to your ideal customers or people related to those ideal customers. So I found that in the early days really beneficial, really kind of steep learning curve for me. But I soon kind of jumped off of that approach because I found even in those early days, it still felt a little bit inauthentic. And so what I did instead is, is I created online community groups. So I established the New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals on LinkedIn. Because I was thinking, well, from all of my experiences over the years, the rapid learning experiences of moving into health and safety, going to conferences, public forums, industry groups, one of the key frustrations I had from all of those experiences was that we would turn up, we would listen to the speakers, and then we were politely ushered out of the door. There was
Yeah.
very little opportunity
Yeah.
to converse and to
Yeah.
build a
And stay
community.
alive and build that community.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, let's just give it a go. And so that's how the New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals was born. And so
It's very clever.
LinkedIn's just become really, I owe a lot to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah, by using it and
Yeah.
um, adapting to its changes.
And how crazy that it's free.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, people think, like, people miss the fact on some of the social
Mhm.
media stuff that
Yep.
it is actually free.
Yep.
People come for your content, but they'll stay for your community.
Mhm.
Do good things for good people. Give
Yep.
people value in advance of them ever giving you any money. Give them some insight. Share your best stuff.
Mhm.
Become a bit of a thought leader on there.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you know, it's a media that
Yes.
you can use to actually do good in the world, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yes, it's so important to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah.
As you were speaking, it springs to mind straight away is Gary Vaynerchuk and his jab, jab, right hook.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
totally.
the more jabs you give without expectation of return,
Mm.
you know, it can just make huge impact. And
Yeah.
I think this conference is a really good example of that, right? So I've been running the New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals now since 2017.
Mhm.
We did run a conference here in Christchurch back in 2018, which was really successful. COVID came along, it kind of threw everything out a little bit. But now, so many years later, I'm in a position to have a lineup of guest speakers who are just next level. Like,
Yeah.
how I managed to pull that out, it just blows my mind. But one of the big reasons that I was able to achieve that and to do the things that I do is because of my community and my networks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've built up that, I guess, the emotional bank account
Yeah.
in a lot of people, right? So
Mhm.
when you're starting to draw out of the emotional bank account, they go, "Yep, I'll do that for you."
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
it's reciprocity at the end of the day as well.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. Another good learning. You know, like, just sometimes, just give without expectations. You
Mhm.
know, and good things happen, right? And sometimes it's not where you think it would come from too.
Mm. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
all of a
There's,
sudden it comes out of left field.
oh man, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And it is like you get a phone call from someone you've never spoken to before, but they've heard of you or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, and it can be a game changer.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and it's generally, like, I find it interesting because the people that are commenting are great, but generally it's someone who DM you is like the real serious
Yeah, the
dudes.
lurkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're never going to comment, but
No.
and that's why a lot of people don't do it, because they need those comments, they need those likes. Where I remember when I first did my first seminar, I think there was 6 people there, and I was like, I felt pretty bad as a marketer. But then I was like, well, I'm always going to deliver, because I always worry about the people that are here, not the people that are not here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that then built on to, 150 now, so it's like,
Yep.
it's, but if you stop, then you never get to the 150.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
That's very cool. Hey, this has been a great chat. Where do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's a really good spot.
Yeah.
So Matt Jones on LinkedIn. Otherwise, my website, which was advancedsafety.co.nz.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, and I've got a question. What's one book that you'd recommend people reading?
I'll be cheeky and say it's probably 2 actually. It's Alex Hormozzi's content. So there's the $100 million offer. And then there's my latest one, which is the hook. Is it the hooks that sell?
The Leeds one?
Yeah, the Leeds book.
$1 million Leeds, $100 million
Leeds. Yeah, thank you. I've become a really big fan of Alex Hormozzi.
Nice.
Really enjoy his books. Really enjoy his audios. And also, just again, free content. So just search up Alex Hormozzi on YouTube.
So good.
It's phenomenal, and don't just passively watch. Sit down, pen and paper, take notes, take action. Yeah,
I think that's a really good tip. Take some action.
Yeah,
action is definitely the thing that
Mhm.
makes the difference, right?
Yeah.
Learn something. I was listening to something this morning by Kevin Jojo. Do you remember him? He was the memory guy.
Yes. Yeah.
He did the Ginsu knives, mega memory.
Yep.
Huge entrepreneur. And he was talking about taking action within 24 hours. If you have an idea, take action. If you listen, learn something, take action. If you don't actually do something, it just then dies away. You end up don't doing it. So take action.
Yeah, I call it shelf help. where you've
Yeah.
bought the book, read a couple of pages,
Yeah, yeah.
job done. It's like no,
No.
you haven't even started.
Actively read it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like a playbook.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Hey, this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming on the
Yeah, my
podcast.
pleasure.
And also, good luck for your event.
Thanks, Phil.
All the details are going to be on the page. So if you want to go along, the 27th of March at the Addington Raceway, it's going to be a great event. Lots of good speakers. So and look out for that and tell them you heard them on the podcast. Hey, thank you for listening. Back into the fold. We're just about finished the new studio. A couple of tweaks needed to be had, but we'll definitely iron those out. We've got some more exciting guests coming up. So do me a favour, share this episode. The more business owners we can reach, the better. We're getting some great momentum with downloads, especially on Spotify. Spotify's just gone crazy over the last 3 months. So really appreciate that if you are listening on Spotify. If you're listening on Apple, we love you too, but you need to share it more than Spotify. So let's go. All right, guys, thanks for your time. Have a great day.